Okay, so last time we started to create the sidewalks, the grass, the road, the driveways. I went ahead and erased that just so I could do it in one video here. So we've got our terrain object as good as I think we need it for now. I'm going to go ahead and go here and just select 2D line work, and these things I have are closed polylines from the AutoCAD drawing. If I isolate, you can see what we've got. I'm going to go ahead and clone those, do a Control V as a copy. Then I want to give them all an extrude modifier. And it already went to negative 20 feet, which is great. It's going through my terrain, and that gives me what I need for the land pieces. So I'm going to start with the road this time, which I'm going to set 1 inch above my terrain. So I'm going to grab that road, compound objects, Boolean, intersection, retain original material, add operands, pop the terrain, and what's that over there? So there's my road. While it's selected, I'm going to move it up 1 inch, and I'm going to give it a road material, which I have here. And for now, that's good. I'm going to go ahead and unhide my terrain object. Now I'm going to select my sidewalks next. Go back to Boolean, intersection, retain original material, add operands, hit my terrain. And I'm not sure that worked. Sometimes when you have two polylines right next to each other, they do not, if I isolate it, there's nothing there. So I'm going to pause the video while I check what's going on here. Okay, I figured out the problem. In AutoCAD, there was an extra conflicting polyline that went around the polylines I wanted. These are all very simple. This is a closed polyline. This is a closed polyline. I actually had an additional polyline that went out into the street and therefore caused interference and made it not work. So we're better now. So I'm going to go ahead and clone, because this is a linked geometry. I'm going to clone that to a copy. Extrude, Boolean, intersection, retain original material, add operand. Bam. Oh, it didn't work again. I'm going to have to go check this again. Alright, what I figured out is that back in the AutoCAD file, I had the curb and the walk on one layer. That'll sometimes work, but I think what's happening is there's arcs against them, so just having those two objects as one on the same layer was causing glitches. So I went ahead and I changed my curbs to a 3D site curb layer and left the walks on the walk, and I did a trial and it seemed to work, so I'm going to go ahead and redo that. So I'm going to go in here and select my curb layer, which is new. You see there's no copy of it, and I'm going to go to my walk layer and say OK, clone those guys as a copy, give them an extrude modifier just like I did the other things. They're going through the land. If I go ahead and select my sidewalk, Boolean, intersection, retain, add the terrain, you can see there's an object there now. I can isolate that and you can see the walks. Great. I'm going to go ahead and give those a shell modifier and type 5 inches, which brings me all the way up. I'll go ahead while it's still selected into my materials, bring in my concrete multi-material, sort them, and just give them a concrete for now. Unhide my terrain. I'm going to go ahead and select my grass object, Boolean, intersect, retain, add operands. There's my grass. I'm going to go ahead and give that my grass material. And while that's still selected, I'm going to go ahead and move it up 4 inches. unhide my terrain, and then I'm going to select my curb object, Boolean, intersection, retain material, add operands, hit the terrain there. And again, I'm going to do the same thing, give it a shell modifier. It's going to default to 5 inches now. That's my curb. I'm going to go ahead and give it my concrete material as well. Unhide my terrain, select my driveways, Boolean, intersection, retain, add. There's my driveways. I'm going to go ahead and move those up the 5 inches. Whoops, I just moved them up a ways. Let me go ahead and retype 5 instead of 50, whatever I typed. Go ahead and give those a material. I've got to use my road material. Actually, I think I used concrete. I'm going to go ahead and give them my concrete patio material, so it's a different material. And then I've got my flower bed, so I've got to go ahead and unhide my terrain again and select my flower beds, which are Boolean, intersect, retain, add, and go ahead and give those a mulch material. And I want to move that up to 5 inches. And I think that's mostly our land objects for now. Let's look at our camera view, maybe do a little preview. Go to open my solid rocks. If you don't own this, I recommend you do. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a little quarter size preview. And it's coming in awfully small, but this will give us an idea of what we're looking at. What we have to do is I've got two things going on. My grass is not covering my whole frame. I didn't draw that rectangle big enough when I made my polylines in AutoCAD. That's an easy fix. I can kind of stretch this land towards me to fill the frame and not see. This is the grass from the HDRI in the background. The other thing I want to do is slope my sidewalks and driveways down like they would be in real life. So we'll take a stab at that. So I'm going to grab my grass, which is currently a Boolean object. I'm going to change it to a mesh. So as this object is now a simple mesh, I can go ahead and select points. So I'm going to go into my top view to do that. And I know I want these points along this edge. So you can see the reds are selected there. Now I'm going to drag this back in my top viewport until it goes a little past my camera. Now you can see it stretched my UVW map because that was sort of baked in there. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a new UVW map and it'll fix that. I can even collapse it back there if I don't want the modifier anymore. So now, to make things easier, I'm going to get rid of my original 2D lines by selecting. These are all those original lines that I cloned. I don't need them anymore. I can hide them forever. Or until I need them again. Now I'm going to go in here and try to fix this land. So these drives are level, but then they're going to slope down to the street level here. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and start with the curb, which is, again, a Boolean. I'm going to collapse it. I'm going to select my points that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and select these points. I'm going into my top view so I can see where I'm at. Hold Control and select all the other points that I want to move down. Now I could move them down visually, but if I want to be a little more precise, I know that they want to go down 4 inches. So I'm going to say -4 here. While that curb's selected, I may as well go do all the other curbs real quickly. So I'm not holding Control because I don't want to select that because I don't want to move what I did down again. But I'm going to select that driveway apron, hold my Control, select this driveway apron, and I know I have one over here, which is kind of funky on a curve here, but since I'm only in that curved object, as I hold control, I'm selecting just the nodes on the curve. It should be about like that. I'm going to go take a look at one of these curves I can see now, and right click that move and say -4. Take a look around. It looks like it did everything just about the way I want it to. You can always go in there and move a point around or two, like this one. Somehow they can get selected. I'm going to just do that one visually. That looks good. I'm going to get out of this mesh while I'm at this end and get into the sidewalk. Again, I have to convert this collapse all to a mesh. Select my points. I'm going to go into my top view, select the points I think I want. Now this time I'm going to have to move these points down as well. I could try a soft selection here. Oops, yep, I've got an extra point here selected as well. I'm going to remove that. I could do soft select, but then it's going to select off to the sides as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my snaps on here and just move this down and hit. Now you can see I've got both the top and bottom nodes selected. It's probably not good, but you probably won't see it. The only issue is my center of movement is between those two things. So maybe I'll go into my top view, go to my front. It's really hard to see. Maybe if I isolate it and hit Alt, I can deselect these bottom points. Kind of a pain in the neck. I could probably move those points. On the next one I'll do it differently. But as I pull that down now and hit the curve, you can see the front looks right. These nodes probably need to go down half that distance, which is probably 2 inches. So this time I'm going to go ahead and get out of my snaps, go back to my select so I don't actually move anything, and just pick these points one at a time while holding control. Whoops. And then I'm going to, this time I'm just going to do it visually till that line straightens out. That one looks pretty good. Oops, I missed the point here. I'm going to go ahead and move that down. And maybe this point goes, whoops, there's 2 points. Highlight them. So that driveway looks pretty good. The next one I'm going to do, just to be a little quicker, I'm going to go ahead and select the tops of these, which I know I selected the bottom. Whoops, I'm in the wrong driveway, I think. Yeah, I was in the first driveway. So this time I'm going to go select them all. I'm not going to bother just selecting the top. That took too long. Now I'm just going to, looks like I got some extra points here I don't want, so I'm going to undo that. Alt, get rid of those points. And then move it down, again, visually. Done. It made the bottom of it look funky, but you can't see it, so do the same thing here. That's good enough for our rendering purpose. Next driveway. Move these down. Check that out. Grab the middle points. Move them down a little less. I'm guessing this point here wants to move down. Whoop, there's 2 points there. So I'm going to move that down just to smooth it out. Looks like this video is just about done, but it looks like all of our land is got the concepts of how to do the rest of it. I think I'll end it here and move on with this rendering.